You're kind of entertaining.
Okay. Yay! Alright. Today, we're gonna... Life's getting old. We're coming to the finish line. And so now, we're gonna write an offer today. We're gonna talk about what to do when you, how to get all ready for it, before you sit down at the computer, and who all you need to talk to, what you need to ask them, and then once you've got it all filled out, what do you do with it? And then we're gonna step over to the listing agent role. So we're starting out as a buyer's agent, listing agent, and somebody sent an offer. What are you gonna look for? You know, what are the salient points? Because then you're gonna need to talk it through with your client, see if it's any good, see if it's, you know, something they would like. And I mean, number one, we present all offers. Present all offers, even if it looks bogus. Don't ever, ever get caught not showing your client an offer. It's just, those are the kind of things you get sanctioned for, you know. So, we present all offers. If we have time, we'll talk about multiple offers and how to handle that, and try to get all the way at counter offers and all the way to get to binding. So, let's see. Let us start with alright. I've completely rewritten this curriculum, so that's why it's not just flowing off the tongue. We're going to use as our subject property the one that we visited on our field trip. So, are those Allbirds? I gave my son some for Christmas at his request. Okay, let's start with this one, this double-sided sheet. Everybody with me? Okay. You're the buyer's agent. We have already conducted a buyer consultation. I want to tell you just a short story. Another new agent who has a full-time job and therefore hasn't been able to take Ignite, really hasn't done any training, but all of a sudden, I'm not talking about you.
I'm like,
but I could
what are
be.
you doing?
Could be. No. A friend told a friend who has flipped one or two houses that his friend, Amy, I'll call her, has a license. So, this new flipper calls Amy and says, "Oh, I got this property. Would you show me blah da 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 Boulder Crest Road on Saturday?" Amy calls me Saturday morning. What do I do? And on and off all day we are on the phone. Turns out, at the end of the day, she said, "You were right. I should have done a buyer consultation with this person because he really wasn't sure what he wanted. I wasn't sure what he wanted. And it was one of those properties, it was listed for $100,000, and it said no lockbox, no showings until you can look inside during due diligence." Well, if you've never come across that before, it's like, what? You know, just bizarro. So, but I guess there were tenants in there, and The thinking being if, you get in there and it's just not gonna hassle the tenants, but once you're under contract, you can go in and look, they'll hassle the tenants to let you get in and do your inspection, da-da-da. So, we, you know, back and forth, and she was actually taking Ignite as another Ross Group office, because they had a Saturday class. So when she got out at 1, we're talking through what to do, and kind of some of the stuff on this page, but I said, you know, Amy, check with the listing agent. And even though it was just listed yesterday, Friday, make sure it's still available. Because we're going to save each other a whole lot of hassle, and it's the weekend, if it's not available. Sure enough, she called, already under contract. So that was the end of that. And she said, I don't ever want to do that again. So, I mean, because she was freaking. Anyway, so, following this procedure, we have a buyer consultation with our client. And as you've already learned, what you're doing is you're finding out what they want. Pardon me. You're going to educate them on the process they're going to go through, including, have you been pre-approved? Make sure they're pre-approved. And you're going to set expectations. Hey, we got a spot just for you, but you got all kinds of handouts to get. Set expectations about, like, how many properties is it reasonable to see in one outing, you know, so we're not going to see 12, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And talking about, now, you're going to need to, once you found a property, you're going to need to put down earnest money, that sort of thing. So you front load as much as you can, so you're not having to do it all when they finally find the property. I always give my buyers my list of 3 or 4 inspectors with contact information, web address, so that they can do noodling when they're calm and figure out who, you know, and talk about what inspections they might want to get done. Okay, so since you've done one of the things, well, I'll just call it papering them up. You get a client and you want to get them to sign a buyer-broker agreement. There are 2 other required documents that you have to get them to sign. These are, one, the affiliated marketing disclosure. In case y'all have any question about this, it's a direct requirement that any brokerage that has some other business that they have some sort of monetary arrangement with, and Certainty and Gannett both pay us for some floor space, office space, that you just disclose it to your client only. You never have to get the other side to sign the document. Even though they're designed to be, whether you represent the seller or the buyer, but you only have to get your clients to sign.
I think I might have missed something right there. When are you disclosing this? In what document?
Affiliated marketing disclosure. And you can do it at the buyer consultation,
okay,
but you're going to get your buyer to sign it.
Okay.
And we're going to get into Dr. Luke in just a second.
Okay.
There's also a buyer fraud prevention notice, because holy moly, the bad guys are out there. One suggestion that Darren Prindle told me is, when you're communicating with your client, with whatever client, do not use the word wire in the email at all, because they have phishing programs. If there's any mention of wires, you know, sounds like money's gonna, transfer, so you have to sort of train yourself, even though it is a wire transfer. Your, transfer, I don't even know if it'd be much better to say transfer of funds, but anyway, sadly, you don't want your client to be, transfer $10,000 and it goes away. Worse, you've got the seller and they, their funds are gonna be wired to their bank and they get siphoned away. There's just nothing worse. So, within the buyer brokerage agreement, there are certain, I call them buyer beware notices, what you should know about buying a home, what you should know about buying a home in a condo, blah, 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 you know all those. So, when you're filling out the form, and I typically fill out what I can before the consultation, and just tick off the ones that you should, that apply. I don't send the short sale, to people. Lynn LaCroix does recommend the ABCs of agency. I think she said that first. I'll double check on that and get back to you. So, we, in doing all of this, we necessarily have created a loop for our client. And I'm gonna show you on the board, because today's class is combination how to do dot loop and how to write an offer. Oh, excuse me. And thirdly, how to, the dialogues between all the parties, So it's the conversation flow, as well as the mechanics, as well as what are the parts of an offer, okay? That's a lot. That's why I started this document. There's more to be done, and I will give you when I have finished all that. So don't panic. It is a lot, but this is kind of like the crux of the transaction. Hello, Sissy. We got a place up here.
I wasn't expecting this. We need some more printout.
New carpet.
I think we need some more printout.
Well,
Cause I had some script for something, and then,
I think it's because
the last one.
some are, they're not all in the same place. Here we go. Put that, if you would, with those.
Yep.
And
So Stacy, when's the test? Don't we have a test? When is that?
it's, at the end of session 12.
End of session 12.
That was sort of random.
No, it's not. I think about tests earlier. I was waiting for the last.
It is a 50-question multiple choice,
Okay.
and the last question is, what's your biggest aha from taking Ignite? So
Oh, okay.
you get 2 points to start.
All right.
We will press for it together. No one is going to fail. You have to get 75 or better to pass. No one's going to fail you. So, we're going to get into dot loop in a sec. Okay. You think everybody has what they, everything? We're going over this page. All right. So,
Sorry, with the buyer brokerage and those things, is that once we're in doc loop, or are those things that we have to get put into a doc? And where are they? Okay.
I wanna, right,
Okay.
it'll make
Makes sense,
so much
okay.
more sense as soon as I fired up, but I wanted to, finish talking about what we're doing before we get in dot loop.
I need one of those. Yeah, a lot of paper.
Please, may I have one of those?
Thank you so much.
Tell my children. Okay, so, you're you and your client, you know, you just finished walking through a house and you're like, ah, this is the one, let's make an offer. So, the first thing you do, what's number 3 on the page?
Oh, the listing agent?
Now, of course, you can start with text, and, I mean, I usually do start with text. Can everybody silence whatever they've got going, please? Is the property still available? Shame on you if you don't find that out. Shame on you.
Before you go out looking, or?
No. Once the client is like, oh, I want to make an offer on this property. Don't do anything until you ask that question, because you'd be wasting your time if it wasn't. Remember my Amy?
Yeah. Do people do shenanigans where they make offer on 2 properties? One afternoon I like that one and I like that one, and they make offers on 2 houses?
They do. We discourage it, in that it is way confusing.
To whom?
To the client mostly.
Okay.
It's,
But in the previous market, where it's been a seller's market, and houses are, you know, going really fast, assuming that we're not in a sell.
it's not all gone. There's still some places where, yes, and I know we don't love that scenario, and like investors, absolutely all day long, they want to do all these things.
But the bottom line is the contracts are porous enough that you can get out anything you want to get out of.
We'll go over that, but the good news, if you got a buyer that's like, I'm not sure, that's what due diligence is for. During your due diligence period, the buyer can terminate for any reason, they having a bad hair day. You know, we always use the line, do you want to sleep on it or sleep in it? Because snooze you lose in certain price points, not at the upper price points. Those are sitting longer on the market, but there are scripts for say getting buyers off the fence, getting buyers to pull the trigger. I'm trying to do process today, so we're going to focus on the process and the mechanics, because there's whole tons of contingencies and what ifs, and we're not getting into that. But I hope, except for Anna Corley, you can come to the contracts. That's not tomorrow. That's the next week.
Is there a training tomorrow?
Hold on.
There's something tomorrow after team meeting.
Right, that's Chad Himes teaching 7 steps to 10 listings. That is not required for you.
Okay.
The following Tuesday, however, Lynn LaCroix and Renee Dillon will be teaching Contracts 102, which is a focus on all
On
these.
our thing, it says she's tomorrow.
If it's,
Just check.
no, it's not.
From 11:15 to 2:45.
Okay, I will give you an updated following, because Brad sometimes schedules things without checking the calendar, can you believe it? And so I had it scheduled,
Okay.
and I had to move it.
Perfect. Thank you.
So it is the 12th, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we're calling the listing agent, and is it still available? And then these are just some points where you're kind of chatting them up, and if they say, yes, it's available, always follow up with, have you received any offers? Because she may be holding 1 or 2 for key, and they just came in, they haven't shown them to the seller. Where this is going is it's telling you the speed with which you need to work. You know, yes, it's available, no offers, you don't have to break your neck, you know. Okay, so you share with them, my client's considering making an offer. You don't want to go, my client's in love with the house, and then they're going to, you know, maybe be less negotiable. So, here's something that smarter agents do, and that's ask, So which terms, other than price, are important to the seller? The reason you ask that is maybe it's an older couple, the sellers, and they wanna, stay in the house 3 days after, closing, because they just don't move quickly in terms of moving out. You find out the nuances of what would make your offer stand out against competing offers by appealing to the seller's needs. So you do a little digging, and this is not only in competitive offer situations, but with every contract, because your sales, you got to sell them on your client and win the house. So that is just a technique, a strategy to find out what's important to the seller. I didn't put on, nope, I'll tell you that later. Save that, Okay, we'll talk about the disclosures in a minute. So, we found out the property is available. Yay! Then, again, before you sit down at the computer, not rushing into pulling up that purchase and sale, got to talk to your client's lender. And you can see what I said, and the critical thing here is, I have so many new agents, and they're going to fill out a conventional loan, and they're like, how many days should I put for the financing contingency? I don't know, ask the lender, because you're committing them to performing, getting to the end of their process of verifying that the buyer qualifies within a certain number of days. We can't dictate that, they dictate that to us. So, then, same with appraisal. And then I like to ask the lender, so has my buyer submitted everything to you that you've asked? That's gonna, again, you have to manage this process, and so you need to take the temperature and see, okay, I've got a buyer that's not responsive or whatever. It will dictate, maybe you have to get after them, whatever, but now we're focused on the finish line, which is the closing table, and these are the things that can trip it up. So even though we're not in charge of the financing, the lender is now your partner in getting to the finish line. So
you're providing value to the purchasing couple. I would assume that you would, at some point, maybe way before you start looking for a house, that you're saying, here are 3 lenders that I've used in the past that have done a good job.
Absolutely. And
that's been taken care of. And
at the buyer consultation.
They've chosen A, so we don't have to worry about the couple giving their information to B and C. That's already been done a week ago.
Okay. I may not have missed, in the consultation,
right,
if they haven't yet been pre-approved, yes, I give them a piece of paper with my 3 favorite lenders, Certainty's at the top, but I provide 2 others, and so that they're, in process, and they check it out, whatever. They don't have to turn in a ton for pre-approval, but if they're really serious and they want to be ready to buy a house, they'll go ahead and, see, there's a difference between pre-approval and making loan application. That's where you're really turning in documentation, tax returns, work, proof of, income stream. So, and your buyer may not have started that process, but I'm going to be checking up on that.
In your experience, what percentage of the time when you present 3 lenders to me, do the buyers just say, Stacy, which one should I use, as opposed to actually doing their own due diligence? Percentage.
Well, I thought you were going to ask what percentage of the time they go, no, I want to deal with Wells Fargo because that's where I bank.
Well, that's even better.
Well, except you want to dissuade them of that.
Okay.
Because banks, banks do many things. they keep deposits, they do loans. They're not, mortgage lenders exclusively, so they move at their own pace. They can really mess up your closing and not meet your deadlines because they got all these other things going on, and they're just huge bureaucracies. So,
But back to the question is, what percentage of the time are people lazy?
I would say a small percentage, more so on inspectors, less so on lenders. And because I have certainty as my number one, I say, well, they are our, affiliated partners, and I've done a lot with them. I feel comfortable with them, but actually I have people that I've done business with all, so.
But you're selling the lender.
Yes, but I don't wanna push them on anybody. Best practice is give 3 options of anything you recommend.
And then give them,
And they have
your
to choose.
expectation is, but I expect you to pick one of these 3 by Friday,
Yeah,
so we can keep moving.
correct,
Okay.
right. Okay, don't take me off.
Okay.
Okay, all right,
Can I ask
So-
a question?
Nope.
On the lender?
You're sitting
So you talk about like how many days you should write for financial contingency,
mhm.
and how many days you should write for an appraisal. Is
Mhm.
there any like a rule of thumb for that, or is it just, depends on how?
Hold that when I pull it up,
Okay.
okay? Because there kinda is, but I still don't do it without talking to the lender. So before you're in your information gathering, you wanna write this offer, I gotta make sure it's available. So I do the whole listing agent conversation. I check in with the lender because I wanna get that pre-approval letter. Many lenders like to make it property specific. Some, especially banks, will just do a generic, they're pre-approved for a loan of X. And here would be the terms, because you do need to know if it's, a 15 or a 30-year, and roughly the interest rate. So, but many lenders want to write it as if they're pre-approved for this property, da-da-da. So you kind of have to do it, you want to gather that right before you write the offer, ask for it. Okay. So we've got our pre-approval and the lender's input on the number of days. It'll make more sense when we pull it up. We know the property is available. We need a legal description. Sadly, most listing agents don't provide one. They're supposed to. They're supposed to have it when they take the listing. That's one of the things you gather. So we have our own inside track. When you send an email to, I've given you the email address here, and I am gonna share with you the email exchange that I get from Gannett, because I emailed them this morning and asked for the warranty deed on our subject property. Okay, then, we gotta advise the buyer about the price. So, some of the things we're gonna look at, yes, we're supposed to run a CMA, which we're not gonna do today, but, that's because sometimes you have to pull that buyer back into reality. They wanna offer 20% lower than list price. It is just not gonna fly. You should be up on what, the average sales to list is, not only for that neighborhood, but for that area. You can get that from the stats presentation I'll show you. Buyers, everybody wants a deal, but you also don't want to waste time trying to, like I said, offer 80% of list, because it's just not going to fly. They'll just go, no thank you.
So you have a CMA for listings and buyers,
Mm-hmm.
both ways.
Mm-hmm. So then this realist report is this one that I gave you, and It has things like what the taxes have been for the last several years, details about the property. It has its own version of the Zestimate, the estimated value, but it's an algorithm, so it's not perfect. Nobody went inside the house and looked before they came up with this. On the back page, you have the listing history. It hasn't changed hands since 1992, and there's a mortgage history, so you can sort of see, looks like,
Can you kind of spend a minute on that? That kind of confuses me.
okay, no,
Okay.
but I will after class.
I know where you live.
Exactly,
Well,
after class.
Can I sit in on that? Because I want to know.
Okay. So, once we have our research, then you have a little chat with your buyer on the phone or in person, whatever. I'm usually on the phone with them. And we got to get all the, okay, how do we want to fill out this person's sale? Da-da-da-da. And then, once y'all talk through that, then you open up that loop. So I'm gonna do that, and if you want to follow along with me and create a loop and do it, you are welcome to. I'm trying to figure out a way, and I haven't yet, to create a loop template and then share it with everybody, but I haven't cracked that code yet. Oh, come on. Sounds like it's shut down.
There you go.
Thank you, Jesus. Okay. Okay. We'll come back to you. Okay, does everybody know that you go into this E-Edge control panel, click on Start My Transactions to access .loop?
Nope, we know now.
Everybody's .loop should be red and black. If you have a version coming up that is with blue instead of red, let me know, and you're in a beta version, and I can fix it. Okay?
Real quick, if I am in blue, should I not create one to go along with you?
Yes, and we can nip that baby in the bud real
Okay.
quick.
Well, you don't have to.
No, okay, you can click on ES.
For you what?
With the website.
Switch to
Did it
old
work?
stuff.
Put something in there?
Well, I don't know.
Not buying my URL,
Thank you.
but I don't know.
You wouldn't believe how long it took to figure that out.
Log in and see.
Okay.
That's my, I got a couple of things that you can.
So these are, I'll go switch to me, not the Office version. Okay. So you have this presentation or list presentation, whatever works for you. The circles. You're looking like it, that's not what you say.
All I have is filter and activity log.
No, because you probably don't have a list yet.
Correct. I got no loop.
Okay? Right. These are mine.
Oh, that's just a list view, the little dashes?
Mhm.
Okay, as opposed to, okay, I'm with you. Never mind. I got that part.
Okay. I'm gonna take out my sold. So I just have, here we go. All right. I'm having a buyer broker, got buyer consultation, and so to follow the order on the page, click the plus sign to start a loop. Anthony, you need some more coffee?
Yeah, I'm a little on
Okay. Been driving already?
Yeah, I've been up all night.
Super Bowl.
Did you make some good money?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There you go. All right. Get them?
I cannot sign in or do anything.
Take a quick look.
Sorry.
Ah, well, see, you've got blue.
That's what we were.
Did you start through MyKW?
Yep. I haven't done any of these, so it's not linked.
Okay.
I have to give my password from Diane.
Mhm. Okay. Do your KW email address. Okay, password. Use the MyKW password, we'll see if that works.
I just looked it up, that's what Diane set it up for.
Mhm.
Alright.
Okay. Oh, do whatever the password is for your email address.
It's the same one. It's all the same.
Okay. All right, click the sign up.
I'm still there.
Because I'm useful.
That, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, now click on AB, switch to Old Top Loop, continue. All right, go back up there, let's do it again. Well,
No status,
sorry,
private.
this is a Diane problem, I wish we had done this before.
Okay.
Today.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay.
I can
Pretty good thing.
go with you guys.
Click on TF, switch to Old Dot
I think
Loop.
you just create a loop.
You're red now.
There you go.
Yes, yeah. Okay, obviously I have learned I better have everybody
So I think
do
I'm
this
gonna create
before
one.
session done.
You probably get that plus sign,
Yes, and-
I think, maybe.
I'll get with you. We're at break.
He didn't have a plus sign on his.
He didn't have any?
No, he just had that,
Oh, because you're already in a loop. Click back to my loop.
Back to my loop. So this is my loop, since,
Right, we've already
Okay.
done this.
okay, okay. I just
But
wanna
we're
make
still
sure.
gonna create a new loop.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because you see the grid in the corner.
Mm-hmm. Okay, click on that.
Click on this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. You're a genius.
Yes, well, no, it's just we had already gone
Oh, we
farther
did this, yeah, we did.
with you.
Thank you so much.
Now, Maya has been through all of this, so you may be bored.
I'm bored one bit.
I'm about to break down and sweat.
Click there.
You probably should
I just
stay
want to
on.
make sure we're all,
It's online.
okay, you can go back to wherever you want. So everybody except for Anna Corley is red, not blue. Okay. All righty. So I have, tell me when you're ready. Okay, let's create a loop. We create a loop by clicking the plus. Right now, we're just at the buyer console. So I'm gonna say Betty Buyer, you can put whatever you want. Whoops, three big T's, what? Okay. It pops down, when it was showing those options, if in fact you already knew the property and the listing was in, it'll autofill some things, but it didn't at this point. Now, never select a template here. I wish they didn't do this. That's for staff to do like agent intake stuff, so ignore it. Disclaimer, dotloop is a program for the whole nation. So it works in any state. So sometimes their terminology is not exactly what we say here in Georgia. Sorry. But that's why things aren't a perfect match.
So I'm making an assumption that means you can bring in outside people into a loop?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
doctors, lawyers,
we are going to.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to create a loop, and when you create a loop, and that's what it looks like. Start at the top of the page. I'm on number 2. Okay? So, select transaction type. I'm going to click this little drop-down caret. I know Betty wants to buy, so it's going to be a purchase. Okay? Select loop status. Drop-down is pre-offer. I mean, you only have so many choices. So we ain't under a contract yet, pre-offer. Now, this is what I have not documented, and that's the view details. But let's look at it. Okay, I'm going to just scroll real fast just to show you, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff. It's all this stuff because this is a national program, and in some people's, we have GAR forms, but some other states have whatever. The purpose of filling stuff in here is so that it will auto-populate when you're actually doing the, filling out the forms. So it saves you money. Saves you time. However, I'm going to tell you the ones that there's a whole lot of this you don't need to mess with because none of the forms that we are going to use call for this. Okay, so I'm just trying to save you time. So we do want to add, you will find that you're on there. See, here I am. And right here it says none. It always defaults to none because it doesn't know if I'm the buyer's agent or the listing agent. Okay, so the very first thing I do after I pick the transaction type and the transaction status is I'm going to say what role am I playing here? I'm the buying agent. Okay? This just represents the MCA's office because they have to get in to be able to see every loop. Now, I want to add Betty Buyer. I'm going to click Add Person. Minimum requirements is name and email address. Why do, what's the real role about the email addresses in .loop? When you joined the office and Diane sent you stuff,
You sign your document.
When you were signing documents, did you get an email saying, you've got things to sign in .loop, click here? So that's how .loop finds you to get you to sign documents. So you've got to have an email. If you have a couple that are your clients, each one has to have a unique email address, even if they just make up a free Yahoo account or Hotmail, whichever those is free. Because this is electronic signing, and if it's Bill and Ann, we're going to send Bill for his signatures and Ann for her signatures.
But only one email for Bill and one email for Ann. Not Bill's personal email and Bill's work email.
Correct. Whichever is they use the most accessible, right.
Can I add one email?
What?
Can there be one email for both?
No.
No, that's what I just said. If an email address represents a signatory. If you got two people, you need two email addresses. Because only one person can sign the documents, that's
per that link.
the way it's
But
set up.
if they're 84 years old, we can print this stuff and do it the old-fashioned way.
Absolutely, and I can't remember if it's Yahoo or Hotmail, you can make somebody an email address just for, you know.
But in most cases with that, in my experience, is that they're gonna have an attorney in fact sign paperwork, if they're that old and can't use a computer.
I'm with you.
Because
Okay.
they don't want it to come back that they're incompetent. So the family's probably gonna have someone to sign.
All right, I'm gonna, let's see. I'm using my email address, another email address, instead of making one up. But, you know, if I had a Betty Byer email address, believe me, I've made up email addresses in class before. Okay, I'm gonna click this, and so what role is Betty?
Buyer.
Click, and as soon as I click, watch what happens. Whee! It wants to know other things. Now, if I fill this out, then it'll appear on my brokerage agreement, and I don't have to type it in there.
So this is a good thing to do.
I always do it. So I'm just gonna fill in my stuff. Not a company. And notice that the street number is a separate field from the street name. Whoops. Now, for these forms, it pulls the phone number. We're mapping it to pull from the phone number, so I don't bother with the cell. Even if I'm putting, that's my cell number. But you don't need to put in both places. I do not know why marital status is on here. Obviously, in one of the 50 states at least, it's important.
Like California?
But I just skip it, okay? Then I'm gonna add the person. All right, so Betty's there. Now, at this point, I know nothing about the property because she's just a client. We're just gonna have a buyer consult, and that's okay. Whenever you do anything in view details, make sure you save. Okay. Now let's pull in some documents. The way you get around to not loop, go into a loop, get out of a loop, go to different documents. So you're looking at this, and let's say you're down here and you're like, I don't know how to go. Dot-loop always gives the way forward up near the top of the page. So I'm going to click on back to loop, because remember I was within view details there. Okay. Now I have, my next instruction after I did the transaction type, transaction status. Hi, hon.
Hi, did you need me?
I'm good if you
I've got some free time in the next hour or so. Sure.
I really need you the last hour for sure. If you can, yeah. So I want to rename this within your loop. There are folders, and we recommend that you're going to have one that you're going to call buyer brokerage, and that's obviously those dots. And then another one that we'll name contracts when we're ready to make an offer. And this is, instead of just one long, it's much easier to find things if you file them. Okay? So I wonder how I can rename this generic folder that's labeled folder. Well, the three dots are your friends. So I'm going to click on the three dots. There's a rename option. Ding! And now I'm going to call it yes, I have to delete the word folder. It doesn't just go away. All right, now watch this. Whenever you rename something, the next thing I do is I'm gonna hit enter, and look what happens. Bing! It puts it in the proper format, okay? Whether it's a document, a folder, whatever, after you've typed it in, hit enter, bing, it'll go into the right format. So I wanted you, next I wanted to show you, let's look at, okay, zing over to number 8. We'll still do the buyer brokerage, but I want you to be there. All right, to get GAR forms, to access GAR forms, it's always through templates. Click. Wow, I've got a whole bunch of different folders here. What the heck? Look how many. Okay, you can always go into logoed 2019 GAR forms. That means every single one that and we put Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter in the upper left corner. But there's an easier way. Look, there's a folder called Buyer Brokerage Docs. I'm going to click on that one. Whee! It's got just what I need. This one, this one, this one. You might notice that this has a different name, but this is going away and going to be replaced. The version we were given by Rawls Group Central had some typos, and it's going to be replaced. So, you can always move this bar down to scroll further. These other GAR forms are for other iterations of buyer brokerage. S116, agreement to work with buyer as a customer. If you have a listing and an unrepresented buyer comes and they want to make an offer, they don't have an agent, we do not do dual agency, which means you're actually treating both sides as a client. You can't be completely fair to both sides. So you can work with the buyer as a customer. That means you give no advice. You just fill in the blanks according to how they tell you. So it is possible to do that. So I've chosen the 3. I'm going to click copy.
When that happens, how is commission treated?
It is optimal if when you take the listing, you go ahead and talk to the seller about, kind of the averages, oh, it's going to be 6%, and I'm going to share 3% with the buyer's agent. You should go ahead and talk to them. Some people will say if there's an unrepresented buyer, I'll do it for 4% or 5 or 6. It's it rarely, your seller is not happy if you take the whole 6% when they thought they were paying 6% because 3 of it had to go to the other side. There will be more discussions about that, and you'll hear that talked about in team meeting too. So it's really optimal to go ahead and come up with what your, some agents just have a standard, if this, then that, if this, then that, and you can...
In the compensation portion of the listing agreement. Correct.
I know, I was with John on a listing appointment last week, and that's what he told the seller. He said, it's 6% commission, 3 for each side, but, and the wife even repeated it, but if you bring in the buyer, then it will be 5% instead of 6.
Right, it is your choice. So you actually have 2 oddball scenarios. If the seller themselves brings in the buyer because it's their neighbor, they know them, you know, you pick one amount, and then if there's an unrepresented buyer, and those can be the same amount or not, you know, you gotta figure out, what? I'm busy. So, we'll talk more about that. Okay, we have our, oops, I need some more documents in here. What else do I need from, number 2? I've got these. What am I missing?
For the buyer beware.
So I click Add Document, go back to Template, and this is where the buyer disclosure forms are.
Or you can search.
Yeah.
Search never works for me though.
Say again?
Does the search work? How does the search work? Because every time I try to search for termination or contract, it never comes up for me.
Okay, I can tell you why. Janae and I are looking through the flat. .loop, first of all, is going to depend on which of these folders that you're in. He can only search in the one that is highlighted.
Makes sense now, where I've never seen it.
Right. If you're just looking for something and you really don't know where it is, go to logoed. And I know that y'all probably have inbox and personal. I don't know why they do that. I mean, they do it for some other state because some people, you know, do emails and stuff through .loop. So make sure the folder where you think it is highlighted. Does that make sense, Janae? Okay. So just to show the point, yeah, I'm there and I'm going to type the word. You can always just type one of the keywords that's in the title of the form. We have a mutual and a unilateral. Oh, and this is termination of brokerage engagement. This isn't termination of the contract. So, I think we need another word.
So if a client decides not to use you anymore, you need to send that to them to sign. Okay.
Right. There's also within the, let's say you just did your time frame for 2 months and you hadn't found anything, you want to extend that brokerage agreement, you can, amendment to brokerage agreement can be used in many applications. You can just change the time, extend the listing period, all sorts of things. Okay, so back up.
Will .loop remind you or provide you notice that you're getting close to your termination date?
Good question. I don't know. Save that. These are the ones that Lynn LaCroix recommends you send to every client. The first 5. So it was the ABCs of the agency. It explains your role. I'm supposed to be doing this. Sorry. Lead-based paint, mold, and radon. And then this is the generic protect yourself when buying a home. And then just depending on whether it has an HOA, it's in a condo community, it's new construction, it's potentially in a flood zone, short sales. So in this case, I'm going to do those, and I happen to know that there is an HOA. It's optional in this case. So then I'm going to copy.
So let me ask you another question. Condo. Townhouse would not be included in that, or would it?
Remember I wrote to Gannick to get the legal description? Within the legal description is the word condominium is listed, I don't care what it looks like, it's a condominium. So it's not based on, is it a townhouse, is it a high-rise, is it a multi, da-da-da-da-da. It is based on the legal description. Not all agents out there are as well-trained as Keller Williams agents, and they will list things as what it looks like. So you need to check the legal description to be absolutely sure.
Yeah, perfect.
There are a few extra guard forms that you have to use if it's a condominium. We will cover that another day.
But ideally, you're getting these documents signed, I mean, well, you're getting the buyer brokerage signed, right?
Right.
And then
Yeah, we're just at
you're
this,
You're
and
getting
then,
these signed if you're gonna be presenting an offer, correct?
right. We're almost done with this, and then we will get into making the offer. Now, notice that as you add documents into your folder, it puts them at the top. Well, I want to rearrange these, because I want these to be at the bottom. So I'm gonna click on this one, take it up, I'm gonna find I gotta find an empty row and drop it. Click on this, drop it. Click on this, find an empty row. If you accidentally drop it on top of another document instead of a gray empty bar, you'll get a pop-up that says, do you really want to delete this other one? And that's kind of your clue. Oops, I didn't do that right. Say no. Every time, say no. Let's see. I'll do like this. Show you what it looks like. See, I'm dropping it. Oop, are you sure? Da-da-da-da-da. Say no. Okay? Now, we're not going to fill these out, but I'll just click into here and show, you always get an autofill pop up. Yay, I've got Betty Buyer is my buyer, got my info, Betty's info, click autofill, and whee, it fills in some things. So we pre-populated the fact that Keller Williams Realty Atlanta Perimeter is the broker. Very nice when you want a date. You click on the calendar, it pops up, and you just pick the date, and whee, puts it in there for you. So our mainly want to go. Okay, on page 5, the way all the guard forms are, if they are multi-page. First page has blanks to fill in, then you have a bunch of pages that relate to what each of those blanks means and what's the significance. The very last page is always the signature page, and the page just before it is where you might have special stipulations, that sort of thing. So it's always that sequence. I am going to, now this is check. You have to have the white glove, the Michael Jackson white glove, in order, see when you have the arrow, that's for manipulating it.
Did it insert those because you attached them already, or that's just standard operating procedure right there?
That's pre-done on the form.
No. We don't pre-do. I'm filling this out. I've chosen that I'm going to send those to Betty. So you're, on the buyer-broker agreement, you're supposed to select which brochures, this always throws me, have been received by the buyer. Well, not really, because I haven't sent them yet. I wish it didn't say that, but.
And you haven't necessarily put them into the folder either, correct?
No, you missed it. Okay, well, hold on. Okay. The only time I've used a special stip is if a buyer has looked at a property before we got together, and there's some reason that they don't want to use me on one specific thing, then you can go, okay. That, you know, no representation on this specific. Or conversely, on a listing, this is where you put if if seller brings the buyer, commission will be thus. Okay, here's the signature page, and look, whee, Betty's info is filled out. Yay, because we did it in view details. And my information. Now, .loop does not all states require that your local Board of Realty membership goes on the contract. So .loop doesn't have a way to autofill. So we always have to fill this one out. If you are a member of Atlanta Realtors, Lynn LaCrosse says it's okay to just go ARA and be done with it. Okay, another thing, if in any legal document, when you sign it and date it, well, when we sign, okay, see, I put my cursor here. This is where I'm going to sign. Click, because y'all did this when you signed documents to join the firm, but notice that it's already date stamped, so I don't have to fill this out. If a client is signing by hand, they would fill in the date. So, here's another.
So this is assuming you've already negotiated with the seller or the buyer all the special steps and everything.
Right, you're not signing until you're in agreement. Right. Now, here's another item. You can assign everywhere that there's a signature box. We have already sort of said who's supposed to sign there, but if you want their name to show up, you can click once, go up here, assign to buyer number 1, but we know it's Betty, and now it says Betty sign here. You don't have to do it. It's a nice touch. So now I'm going to send it to Betty. Let's say, and you can prepare this and bring your laptop, to your buyer consultation and have them sign electronic. I bring a paper copy so that they can take it home with them and read. Save and share, and here's what comes up. Okay, I've already signed, so I'm going to send it to Betty. There are going to be 2 places for her to sign. I'm going to share it with Betty, and this document has been shared.
Share means send?
Yes.
Okay.
So, let me, I'm gonna, well, I don't need to do it. My Stacy Stubbs at KW.com forwards into my Stacy at StacyStubbs.com, so it'll show up. Well, I'll go ahead and do this. Where am I? Okay, we're going to wait until it shows up in my inbox. And then I'll sign as Betty. Okay. So, whoop. All right. So remember, okay, how do I get out of this document? I go back to the top of the page, and .loop always sends me back that way. All right, so Pete, these were all I did.
Okay, so they showed up in the PDF document because you'd already put them in right here.
No.
No, it's a 2-step two steps. You have to both add documents to put them in the loop so that you can send them to Betty.
Right, I understand that part.
And then within the buyer brokerage, you have to check off which ones, because it'll be different every time.
But in the buyer brokerage, that was a pre-printed.
Right, with blanks.
Which actually is kind of a cheat sheet to make sure that you put those documents in here to start with.
You got it.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I'm good.
What?
I'm good.
Oh, okay. Maya's head was covering your mouth, so I couldn't. All right. Wow. Now with the
Big head.
buyer thingies,
That hair.
you can check. They don't have to sign these. This is just a little light reading.
Is this the second email you're sending?
No.
Okay, so you already sent the buyer representation document, and
Mhm.
now they're about to get another email with a bunch of attachments.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, with a link to click on to access the attachments.
Okay. Did they have to create a .loop account?
Mhm.
Okay.
But I created them in my view details. That effectively, I added them to this loop, so now .loop knows how to get a hold of them.
But they don't have to log in with password or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay.
That's why you need
Click a link. That's why what?
That's why you need 2 emails, because the wife has to do it as well as the husband, or whatever is their title.
Okay, so I'm sharing, and I'm clicking Betty, and it's view only because there's no place to sign these documents. So that's all you have to do with the buyer or seller beware brochures. Now, I'll just show you, and if you want to uncheck a lot of things at once, a lot of documents, click. Affiliated advertising. Yep. Betty is the buyer. Okay, it has a place for buyers and sellers. This is just a one-size-fits-all form. You just fill it out with your client. So we don't have a seller. And it says, oh, we promote organic and certainty. And here there's these. Every brokerage in Georgia that has any sort of relationship, I mean, it could be Sotheby's, it could be Better Homes and Gardens, if they have a preferred vendor that, like, has space in their office, they have this kind of form too. Okay, so, Betty will sign here. I can click, assign, put Betty's name. So it says Betty sign here, but it's not necessary. Save and share. Do sign because .loop is smart and knows that there's a signature field. Whee! I'm going back. Wire fraud, prevention notice. I don't know why it's an exhibit. I don't know what it's an exhibit to, but I went ahead and said A. I think I'm calling it an exhibit to the buyer brokerage agreement. And we have 2 places to sign. Assign field to Betty. And then you do have to type your name here. Don't have to do the date, because if she e-signs it, it'll be date stamped. Save and share. Betty, sign, share. Done. Back. Okay. Now, if you do what I just said, and you've done all this right at the, either just prior to your buyer consult and everything, you got all this stuff done. Once Betty signs, let's see what I got here. It'll go from waiting on others to signed. That's one way to keep up with it.
But
Now,
you have no way of editing this email before it sends out. Well, when you hit share a while ago, it was gone.
in what way did you want to edit it?
Betty, you're about to get 15
Here we
different
go.
emails from me. Make
Here you go.
sure that you open each one of them and read each one of them.
Okay. I click share. Since this one's been shared, not a good example.
Well, we reshare, you
Before-
can reshare because she never signed it yet, so you're gonna say, Betty, pay attention.
Okay, watch. No. When we do the next one, it gives you a notes line. You write a note.
And that becomes part of the email?
Yeah, but she'll see that before she clicks on the link. So you can, Betty, heads up.
Okay.
And depending on your clients, if they're really more of a texter, I text them and say, okay, you're going to get emails from Doc Luke, get ready to sign. Plenty of clients just sign on their phone. Because everybody it's going to come in your email, and you can do it on your phone.
What are the, because particularly as we move to this next section, you're, as an agent and your buyer or seller, you guys are talking a bunch to fill out this paper. Like, you're going back and forth, having conversations, and so my experience is that when we were getting all this documentation, we got a text and said, okay, I sent the documentation over, look for it, and then she even went further and said, TL's my number one buyer, so TL has to sign all of his stuff, and then it'll pop to you, Anna Corley. And so I knew that I had to be like, TL, go sign, put your phone, go get your phone, sign it, so that it can come to me, so we can get it back.
Exactly. Happens all the time. If there are two people to sign, one of them is on it, the other one is snoozing, and the other...
But is it a dependent workflow?
No, it's just not everybody checks their emails every other minute, so...
But
Ours was, TL had to sign the document before I got it.
Okay, was it .Lu?
Because he was in the buyer number 1 spot. I'm just letting you know that that's how...
That is so interesting. I did not...
My sellers have had issues because the husband would sign first. Every time the wife signed, it erased the husband.
Stuff.
So we had to do it by order because I had set up.
That is the first I have heard of that.
It was very quirky until we figured it out.
Something
yeah.
more
so
to.
As I'm saying, make sure that that's a
cool.
good, and that's what she was like, TL, you guys are both going to get these, but you need to sign first so that Anna can get it, and then it'll come back to me, and I'll let you know that I've received it.
I had no idea.
So it is workflow dependent, FYI.
Does everybody understand that? The workflow dependent?
Whoever's in your first...
Buyer 1 has to sign before buyer 2. Seller 1
which
before
will be
seller
a perfect thing to put in the email.
Exactly.
We did it via text, because the email is literally like this, is you have documents to sign, click this link.
Exactly. I mean, you can put a little note, but not much of a note. You don't have a lot of space.
And there's any way that you can go back and see where did all these things get? Did they bounce?
You'll get an email for everything.
I mean, if you type if you type the person's email in there incorrectly and it bounces, do you have any idea that happened?
I believe so.
Okay.
And I will show you another time. You can, in your own account settings, you can say, I want an email notification if my client sneezes, or my client has opened the email, my client has signed the email, signed the document. It'll blow up your inbox, so you may end up choosing not so much. Let's take a break. It's almost 11:30. Let's take 10 minutes, and then we will write our offer. Whee! and since we've covered a lot of basics, and that's why I do recommend bring your laptop to your buyer console, and so if you go through this with your buyer on the buyer broker, great.
Well, yeah, if she's sitting right beside you, just sign it.
No, but if you go through, you demonstrate e-signing
right
to them.
Right.
Live and in person, then you don't have to explain so much later.
If you and a client decided that it wouldn't be good to proceed working together anymore, and then they called you back and said they do want to use you, so
So you have to sign it, get them to re-sign. Sign it, okay.
Did you must have somebody doing that to you?
Yes, we couldn't agree on a budget, it wasn't realistic, and we went through several properties. And they were in the budget, yet they were sending me properties over their budget. And after about a month of frustration on both sides, we said, well, you know, I'm sorry this didn't work out. We can do it.
And were they, was it that they were pre-approved for this amount, but they thought they only wanted to spend this amount? They didn't want to max out?
They went through two lenders. So one approved them for 75, the other one approved them for 55. And then they wanted to do a 105 budget. But in Atlanta, as an investor, you're not going to find a property for under 60,000 right now. It's just impossible. So after a month of going back and forth, of course professionally and respectfully, we decided to part. And this weekend she called me back and said, Janae, we noticed you go above and beyond and blah, blah, blah. We want to use it again. And now I'm like, I still don't think this is going to work because you're still going over your budget. So.
Well, you don't have to work with them. You don't have to. But it, you know. I wasn't passionate about either team. Oh. Yes. Sweet revenge. They had been beat us at Chapel Hill. I wasn't following. I warned you. Shame on me.
You text message. Good, I forget it's there.
No. Have the new carpets now?
I hate it. That is totally.
Yeah, I actually don't mind it. I love the smell of new carpet and paint. I don't know why. I know, I'm crazy. Some of them have been.
It was just from it. It was just a change of subject. If you just come up to me, Brenda,
We were looking at how permanent the cappies are. You will be riveted. I don't know what, maybe it was the fiber, maybe it was the chemicals.
Okay, the question about Lynn LaCroix, do we have to notify her that we're going to do business?
Okay.
Yes.
It's nasty. It's very nasty.
Believe it or not, there's some agents, people that get their real estate license only because they want to sell their own house and keep the commission.
If it's their own house, they don't have to go through all that.
I know, but if you wanted to.
I thought I was through.
Well, let me expand that a little bit. Not just their own house, but let's say, it's just a kind of a friends and family.
Yeah.
You know, it's just gonna be a part-time, friends and family only. Then, of course, there's some people that, are investors themselves, and they buy and sell and whatnot. Okay.
And I'm guessing there are also brokers out there that will sign up anybody, never even met them before?
Yes.
Okay.
So, if you are in a, agency relationship with your client, that's the norm, the standard, and so there is no notification necessary. But apparently, there is a GAR rule that if you're trading on your own behalf, and for your own, like when I said friends and family, if they were doing something where friends, this wouldn't apply, that you were supposed to send an email to your broker, which I guess would be Brad, although he's not a broker, but he's our team leader, and say, this is to serve as notice that I am planning to purchase 123 Main Street as my own personal residence.
Or as an investment property?
Mhm.
Okay.
And obviously the reverse sell. I wasn't aware of that, but
Yeah.
it is a real rule, and it's not just our office. It's a correct rule, and I think it is. There were days way in the past when there just all kind of funny business going on in real estate. It was not highly regulated. We're highly regulated now, and so it's all about making sure that the public isn't defrauded in any way. And so if an agent is also a party in the transaction, they have inside knowledge, specialized knowledge. And so since brokers are ultimately responsible for their contract behavior, it's only fair to give the broker a heads up that you're about to trade on your own behalf.
This was a CYA letter from Lynn.
Yes,
Because
but
she can say, she notified all umpteen bazillion agents.
Mhm.
So if somebody does screw the pooch, at least she doesn't get sued personally. Okay.
But
So
we
I
have
can
had
delete
a
it.
lot of trading on behalf of themselves last fall, and we have not been compliant because we hadn't told people that they need to do this.
The test question. Renee take the test.
Cause I told Brad, but I didn't know who Lynn was, so I was like, oh, let me go ahead and email her.
I don't know what it is.
I thought Brad was my broker.
That's the whole raw thing, the raw move. That's confusing.
Hi. I just texted him and told him. I can't remember. When I got it, I don't know why I said that. I didn't realize. But I don't know as far as the owner.
Well,
Finally.
So, what's interesting is that some of the steps that we're going to go over early, I mean, kind of doing all my, have elements, right, like the, due diligence, right?
I want the information, but it's just right.
I'll take it back.
Yeah, I just got
By the offer down here,
so it's really making sense.
it is, right, so.
Good. Well, and I'm glad I was ahead of the email. So this is like tailor-made.
Exactly.
The timing for this one I do. I was going to my boss. So, I am detail-oriented.
It says the, well, it has,
Are you on the roll?
but I said, taxes were, from the elevator on the property, when it was.
There was I got it right when I
Oh, that's
joined.
great. What was the last time?
Yes.
So
So
there's
more
more
of it.
of it.
So this guy had 10 for 50 bucks each.
Ask for disclosure.
Yeah, and
Yeah, but if you buy all ten.
but I
I
told
know,
him,
you got that. Okay.
Well, you
I
need to
told him
relist
by
that
the time I
to,
called him, he was all.
Right.
to be full.
But I'm,
I just went, and I went download it like last time, like,
Which lot do you,
sales.
did you join Rawls and
Ask for like a spreadsheet, all I'm doing myself, so it would be much easier to.
just reading like this, and some of the stories are.
but that's okay. I mean, you're learning all of it right now. You'll be pay a bill, benefit tax development.
And,
Yeah.
can you talk to, the commission piece, because, and I get changing the commission not changing it, but like accepting less commission.
No, because
So I would.
I run 1 to 2
then
miles
we can
every
add
day,
that
it's like the
because
fact that I haven't run.
one of the things we always
You know what I mean? It's not that I,
Big class.
it's just like,
Commission to
I'm-
commission, it's set by your broker.
me sitting on the couch.
Right, and that's what they teach.
I don't sit
And
well.
You can't
That's what I'm
change,
saying, I don't.
you just can't go out there and
Can't
say,
just
well,
like
I'll do
sit
it.
and relax, let's
Like,
like,
I'll-
you know.
Like, I don't, like on days where I have tennis practice, like I have to
But-
speak for
Well,
running.
I think I've heard that before. Okay.
But I haven't been able to do that either.
You're listening to now.
I do.
How are you gonna split that?
It
was free. It was free, okay. Are you gonna take 2 and give them 3?
Yeah, I'm not that good.
Are you gonna take 3 and give them 2? There's a strategy behind all that.
Our mixed doubles right now is
They say,
6.
well, that some buyers agents won't
We were
show a
2 last
listing
fall.
if the, commission is under 3%.
I don't women's doubles. I
I'm
waited
not
until
sure
we're
believe that, and I know you're taught that you dare.
Well, from what I heard you say today, right, you could, if the buyer
I like
finds.
so we practice at 7 p.m. on
If the seller
Wednesdays
finds
or
a
Tuesdays, and then our match.
What you're saying is that
AGTV,
I would
yeah.
Make it more
6%
difficult as I get into the business, but
Right, so,
Okay, wait, are you the listing agent?
so if I'm the listing agent.
Right, so you're not getting, let's assume you're the listing agent and y'all.
I'm just saying that's like prime time, like
You're gonna get 3.
1 to 4 on a Sunday, it's like prime
So the
open.
agreement was 6%, however,
Right, it is, it's an unrepresented buyer, or spring buyer, or whatever, since I'm not really entitled to get 6. I'm really only entitled to get 3.
70% of 3, right, or, yeah.
Right, so, but if I'm doing the work of at least transactions, I mean, it didn't seem really fair that instead of the owner having to pay out 6%, let's say they're only 4 or 5,
How long have you worked?
they will be happy.
Yeah.
They will
Oh,
like
I
it.
know, yeah, exactly.
And then
It's one of my
you are
husband's
getting
friends, he used to
some
work there, and then
compensation for
he got
doing
his
the
real estate
paperwork,
license, but
just not the 6%.
I get that, so when we started talking about commission, in my mind, it's like,
Or on
I
the-
just heard like people from the class, saying,
he did
you know,
accounting.
and that's what I wanted to
It could be
understand.
either
But it's-
or.
Yeah.
You're still writing a
Yeah.
contract for 6,
I mean,
however,
I heard
if there are
funny
certain
stories about.
stipulations that occur,
Mhm.
we can adjust.
Right,
I'm gonna go with that.
And
It's been
it
a
is-
while now, I think.
it's better to go ahead and decide it before seller because if all of a sudden their son wants to buy the property and you're like, it just doesn't feel good to make adjustments.
Well, I
Later
know
on,
the
yeah.
situation that happened in
Right.
in our
Working
in our neighborhood.
a corporate
that people
document,
were
and now he does. He's like
PO'd
comp.
just because I don't think they agreed to that at the beginning.
Up
And-
front, I'm telling you.
And somebody, a friend brought a buyer
Mhm.
to the people who were selling,
Mhm.
and then they ended up paying 6%, they weren't happy at all.
Mhm. Right,
Yeah.
and that is, you know,
And they, you know, these people were friends with the person too, so.
I would like to get going. We're missing Anna Corley and Anthony. Okay. We are starting. So, I was in something, and the way to go back is always up here at the top, left, click, go back to the loop. So here's the loop. So we are going to blow through number 8, not really blow through, but now that we've covered a lot of the mechanics and how to do things, it'll, but I want to demonstrate what I have put in number 8 so you can have a visual to go along with the words.
And the preponderance of all the other agents around Atlanta also use .loop?
No.
Okay.
Fortunately, you know, Keller Williams is number 1, so there are a whole lot to do. There are some other brokerages that do. I can't think off the top of my head. So in the instance, so right now you're just dealing with your client, so you're in .loop.
Okay.
If you go to want to make an offer and the other agent just hates .loop, doesn't, even if they don't regularly use .loop, I mean, they're gonna get an email with a link to click, and I'll tell them to sign, but they'll say, send it to me as a PDF, okay?
Mhm.
And when we get to after we do our contracts folder, I'll demonstrate that. All right. So, in addition to using number 8, we're gonna look at these pages, but you can follow me on the screen. I'm gonna demonstrate. So, okay. Here we are. So, number 8. What's the first item?
Rename the property.
Right. Why do we do that? Because
Betty may have 3 or 4 properties over the course of time.
true, every loop is supposed to go with one property. So if Betty if this doesn't work, and she makes an offer on another property, you have to start a new loop.
Oh.
So,
Loop, one property.
right, I had a
If you are the
question.
listing agent, you may have several buyers sending you offers, but it's all on that one property. This is a legal thing. This is the way the lawyers track things, is by the name of the property. So, the sale, this is not Betty's purchase. This is the purchase of 123 Main Street, Lisa Lane.
And if Betty had already signed all of the templates and the wire fraud stuff.
You can copy them to the next
Oh, you
one.
can.
Yes,
You have to
don't-
copy him. Oh.
Yes, because when Lynn LaCroix goes to look at your loop, they better be there.
So you
So
would...
you don't have to have them filled out again. You
Mhm.
can copy them from one loop to another loop.
And keep the signatures.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, so best practice is new loop, not a new folder.
With buyers, yes. If you're the listing agent and you get an offer and you go through and then the buyer cancels, just start a new folder within that, because it's one loop to one property.
Right.
Piece of dirt. All right. So let's see. I haven't done. No.
Click in front of the letter B.
Yeah, but when I clicked it, I basically went into view details. So I could have, let's do it this way. View details. Now I'm at a place where I can make a change. So what's our address at Lisa Lane? I don't have the paper. Can y'all call it out?
6790 Lisa Lane.
Oops. And press enter, and that saves it. Yay! Okay, now that we know we want to make an offer, in order to take advantage of autofill, now we can go down here and fill in some details, and it'll pre-populate. Now, this is always your choice. If you don't want to do this, you can fill it in on the form. I think this is, I like this. Okay. 6790. Ooh, here's another cool thing. Give me the FMLS number.
611-5670.
Woo! Click. And yes, I'm going to import. So now, whee! So all this stuff filled in.
So I'm kind of jumping ahead, but so now if we were a listing to sell, can we pull it from an old MLS number so we don't have to enter it all in?
I don't know. We'll try that sometime.
Okay.
All right. The, partial tax ID is important, and I do want to add it. So I'm gonna, oh, by the way, have the listing open in FLS. And it's sometimes hard to copy a hyperlink because it wants to jump there.
So you had it open in
Yes,
FMLS?
I opened FMLS, went to
Okay.
Matrix, and I cheated, I had this open.
Okay.
That's my recommendation, is that when you go, when you're filling out the purchase and sale, have the listing open, and I will show you why. So, we got that. All right, let's see what else we want to fill in. Financials. This is, even though there's this down here, offer price, it pulls from this. So what are we going to offer? Let's just offer list price, okay, just for simplicity. So what is that?
$589.9.
Never put cents. Tab over. Title fee, we don't have that. There is, we're going to skip, all the way down to earnest. The reason we're skipping is A, either it doesn't apply in the state of Georgia, or B, it's not going to map to any of the documents we use, so it's a waste of time to fill it in. You know, I used to, and then why am I doing this?
So somehow it's going to calculate the sales commission for you?
It's not on the purchase and sale. There's no field for the sales commission. Right now I'm focusing on the details that are going to appear in the purchase and sale and the financing disclosure.
Okay.
There is a document, but it's trust me.
Okay.
Earnest money amount. I put industry standard is 1%. So I'm just going to round up. And earnest money held by, we prefer to hold it ourselves. Really, we prefer it to be held by a strong brokerage, so that knows the rules and will follow the rules. So we always try to hold it. If we're rarely does the listing agent want their brokerage to hold it over us, but sometimes you get pushback if you're buying a flipped home and the investor that owns it has their articles of incorporation with a particular attorney, and then so that they want you to close at their attorney, and then sometimes they want their attorney to hold the earnest money. Fortunately, that is the exception, not the rule.
Is it material that you say Atlanta perimeter?
Okay, glad you brought that up. Our legal name is Keller Williams Realty Atlanta Perimeter, but we have a DBA doing business as Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter, because the other one wasn't fitting on the forms. So,
But Keller Williams is not.
Every office is independently owned and operated and is a unique business entity. Never, never, never think that just Keller Williams is sufficient. We can't cash checks made out of Keller Williams. We are Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. Closing date, I'm just going to go out a month. We're making the offer date today. We don't know when this is. Offer expiration date is usually 24 to 48 hours, it all depends, are you sending it over on a Friday? Are you sending it over on whatever? Start with 24 to 48 hours, and then filter, okay, these people are out of town, they might need an extra day. They're traveling, they might need an extra day. Somebody's in the hospital, so I'm gonna the hot market, I'm giving them 24 hours. And in the form, you actually specify what time. Occupancy date is the same as possession date. So, when the seller stays in the home after closing, you open yourself up to arguments. This mark wasn't on the wall, before closing. If the dishwasher breaks while the seller's still there, who has to pay for it? Well, technically, the buyer, because they own it.
Oh, I thought you said us.
No. It's just you open yourself up to possible squabbles. Best practice is possession at the time of closing. Because then the buyer owns it, and it's their responsibility.
So what did you say, 45 days?
Well, I said 30.
30?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you chose more. Okay. I'm trying to see quick.
All right, and actually that is all, even though there's lovely other things interesting, it's not going to map onto my forms, so I'm not going to waste my time filling it in. Now, why don't we add the listing agent? Because on the purchase and sale, you got the buyer agent and you got the listing agent. Have y'all ever seen a purchase and sale form before? You're looking at me blankly.
In school.
All right, I'm going to just show you. Nope, you're going to trust me. Okay, so back here on our listing, I know it's RJ McCarty, but you're going to have to give on the purchase and sale, like what's her brokerage's address, lots of information that is not on the listing. How do you find it? Well, you click the hyperlink. Watch what happens.
So that stuff does transfer.
Yes.
So some of these fields do and some of them don't, and you just know it from experience.
Well, okay, I'm in FMLS right now.
Well, I understand
Yeah,
that part.
and so here's what we're going to do. We're going to add our Shaky McCarty.
Did you already add her?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm jumping. No, I haven't added RJ
She came
to
up.
the
He's
loop.
on your sheet already.
As listening.
Because we accepted that, okay, listing agent. So, another benefit of doing that, let's see. But, we don't have everything we need in here.
Oh, now we don't fill it in.
So, I'm going back to this to get what I need. I need the street address of her brokerage. Wink, wink, we know it's ours. Whoops, I did that wrong. Fudge.
Sometimes it's easier to type, isn't it?
And just depending on the brokerage, some addresses are easier to copy than others. Some don't have a suite number. There's a growing trend that, people aren't messing with fax numbers anymore. So I'm gonna tell you, you can choose to not fill it in.
I like texting.
All right. If we wanted to, we could also add the 2 sellers. But for time, I'm gonna say this is enough.
So you normally would, correct?
Mm-hmm. I do.
No, I'm just asking.
I like everything filled in. And I prefer to do it in the view details than having to stop and do it with the contract, but it's my choice, okay? So now I want to get out of view details into the loop. I'm going to go up here. So,
When you say 2 sellers, you're talking about like
there's a husband and wife.
of the property that's being sold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And where is that at on there?
On your FMLS, did you see the realist page?
Mm-hmm.
Husband and wife up at the top?
Okay.
Okay. All right, so, picking back up with number 8, I have a buyer brokerage folder. I need a new folder for the contract. I'm going to click on Add Folder. Everybody with me? Delete those words. And I'm going to put contract in. You can put offer. You can put contract docs, offer docs. This is what Diane put in another document that you'll get next Wednesday. So, and then I hit enter. Yay. So we have 2 ways we're going to add things to this. So, we need the purchase and sale, buyer, offer, docs. Okay. Purchase and sale. Now, we are going to use the conventional financing agreement. You have to and by doing that, I lost my check for conventional loan contingency. Okay, there's that. Okay. So, just like we added the other ones. Now, remember I sent an email to Ganic to get the warranty deed? I'm going to, and these directions are where it says add documents from email, halfway down, number 8. Click on that, copy to clipboard. This is the
Forwarding email address.
Yes, forwarding email address. Then I'm going to go into my Gmail account, and I happen to know that this is the email. So here's what I did, and I'm going to forward this to all of y'all so you see. I just said my subject was need WD. They know what WD is. Please send the warranty deed for 6790 Lisa Lane. You give the full address and the county, because there are plenty of places where the same name, there may be a Cobb Lisa Lane or whatever. And this is one of those situations where Fulton comes up, and we call it the Panhandle, because you got DeKalb, Dunwoody here, but there's part of it that was considered Dunwoody, but it technically is in Fulton County, so now technically it's Sandy Springs anyway. Confusion. So Brandy responded, here it is, here's the deed. That's it, all that tract or parcel, blah, blah, blah. There we go. So, the way I get it in the loop, this is a shortcut, it's pretty groovy. I'm going to forward Brandy's email, forward. The 2 is what I copied to the clipboard. And all I do is click send. And it takes 2 or 3 minutes. And now, I also, RJ, of course, who is thorough, see this icon right here in the listing? That means documents attached, like the seller's disclosure, blah, blah, blah. So I went ahead and downloaded them so that I could demonstrate that groovy email trick again. So now I'm gonna, it hasn't come yet, but that's okay. So I guess I still have this
You do.
copied. Now I'm gonna go into this email I sent to myself, and what she likes to do is just upload one PDF that has all the documents attached, because she's experienced times where agents, they download but they skip one, you know. So she says, if I send her one long doc, then I know they got everything. Gonna forward, Control V, send, ta-da. All right, so it's coming, it's coming. So that's how you get. Now, you can you get an email with some information. Oh, the lender should have had their pre-approval letter attached to an email. You can download it to your computer and then click browse and, you know, go in and find what it is. But with just 2 clicks, you can just forward the attachment on the email to the loop.
And if she had 3 attachments on the email, it would come as 3 separate documents, correct?
Sadly, yes. If they were separate.
But because she bundled them all together, unless you're going to use a PDF editor, you're not going to bust them up.
No, I am, because I'm.
You know how.
Well, thankfully, not many people do this. Because I like my folder to have Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. So I would break this up. She bundles them just to get them all to the people. So we're not gonna. All right. Remember how before I wanted my main document up? So I'm moving. In my opinion, the seller cares most, how are you going to pay for this? So I think putting the loan contingency exhibit as Exhibit A makes sense. I'm going to put the legal description here, and I would break this up into the various components, whatever it is.
So if they do the whole bundle like this agent does, her first document was the deed, so would you still send both? Send it twice?
Okay, say that again.
Right,
if it's a bundle, then what?
Yeah, because like in these exhibits and disclosures, the first 2 pages of that PDF is the deed.
Right. What I would do.
So I'm saying, do you do a deed separately as well?
No.
Okay.
Firstly, before I sent that email to Yannick, I'm just telling you, it is so rare
that they put it all together. Okay.
Well, not only that they put it all together, but they even provide the legal description. If anything, you're going to get the seller's disclosure.
Okay.
So, yes, certainly check the listing first to see what they're giving you. Then go do what you need to do to fill in the blanks. And this one I would, let's see, so I would, split document. but I don't know how, so we're not gonna do it there, but obviously it can be done.
You just tell it what page and then it'll split it.
Okay. So, are we ready? Actually, before we start to fill things in, I like to rename things. You do not have to do this. This is what I prefer, and Lynn prefers. Once you're going at this point, nobody cares what the numbers are of the documents. So remember, the 3 dots are your friends. Rename, and now I know that I'm going to make this Exhibit A. Whoops. Now, I don't know what exhibit this is going to be, but something like that. Would you agree that it would be a whole lot easier to find things if this is the way people label them? You know, instead of that long, convoluted title of the GAR form. All right. Does anybody need to stand up and do jumping jacks? Me. Blood flowing? We'll go to the side and do it. All right, I'm going into purchase and sale. We're not going to do every one of these things. All right, so we have Betty. We chose not to put the sellers in. Got me and RJ. We got lots of autofill things. Here we go. Okay, you get this pop-up because, remember I said .loop defaults at the very beginning when you start a loop, and your role is none, because it doesn't know if you're listing or the buyer's agent. Well, we changed ourselves to be the buyer's agent, and we get this pop-up. Are you sure you don't want to be none? It's, sorry, but that's what that's about. Yes. Okay. So based on what we did in view details, we chose today as the offer date. Address, here's this we copied. And so I want to show you that got blanks on page 1. All these pages relate back to page 1. Okay, woo! Number 10. Let's go back to page 1. That is going to relate to this section, 10. And your homework is going to be to read the purchase and sale, highlight anything you don't understand, or just interesting, like, oh, I didn't know that. And we will talk briefly about it at the beginning of class on Wednesday. You will be pleasantly surprised at what is already covered, such as the property is supposed to be clean and free of debris, and meaning sellers can't leave their junk in the attic. It's in the contract. So a lot of things that come up, read the contract. It gives, yes, the buyer has the right to get into the property during inspection. They have a right to be there. Sellers can't say, no, I don't want them to come in my house. He will call me all day long and tell me, my seller's saying this, my buyer's saying this. Read the contract, and quite probably your question will be answered. So, all right. So you got all these pages, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and now we get to another one of these pages where we check the boxes with the Michael Jackson logo. And this is like, you're not going to use this many. In our case, We're doing a conventional loan. Ta-ta. We know we're doing a legal description exhibit. We're not using this form, but we're in the other category, so we're going to check that one. Pretty sure that RJ provided the seller's property disclosure and a lead-based paint. We'll come back if there are any others. So,
One of the boxes out to the far right.
so glad you asked. That is where you put what you're going to label it.
Okay. Which you match back to your loop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He also included the community association.
Did she?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. And what I do when I'm going through and I'm filling this, I'll always have a piece of paper and make myself, okay, this was A, this was B, da-da-da. Because after you finish this, you share it with your client, and then you go to fill out another form, you're like, oh, what letter was it? And you have to go back into purchase and sales, so just make yourself a list.
And once they are signed and you make any edit, it wipes all the signatures.
Correctamundo,
So
as
you
Maya
need to
has
get it
learned personally. So,
I have a quick question.
oh, one sec, let me just finish this. It is very, very common, and don't beat yourself up. You fill something out, you think you've had that conversation with your client, you think you've got all your answers, you fill it out, and send it to them, and there was something you forgot, or a typo, or whatever. You just go back into the document, make your change. I mean, at that point, there probably are no signatures, and then every time you make a change to the document, it assumes that whatever has been shared is null and void. So you just share it with your client and send it on again. You don't have to reshare because now it's a new document. It's a revised document. But let's say they have signed it, sent it back, and you've signed it, and there's a change. Yes, it will wipe out the signatures because that protects all parties from somebody doing funny business, changing the document after it's been signed. It's okay. Just send it back again. Plan on it. That you'll make changes and you'll have to re-sign. Not every time, but just don't.
But it doesn't show a strike through or anything like that?
No, we want clean documents, so we want it, and the last thing that it gets is the signatures.
So then they got to pay their attorney to review the thing all over again?
They're not going to pay an attorney to review it because every word on this document, except for whatever you put in, and hopefully including, has already been reviewed by attorneys. They are attorney-approved verbiage. I just wanted to show you, hello, yes, here we go. The last page is the signature page. So let's take it from the top. Best practice per Renee Dillon at Gannick is in the 1B legal description, always attached as an exhibit. Because if you you may be filling in these blanks with numbers that come from the tax assessor's office, and they're not to be trusted. They're sometimes wrong.
Well, and if you type one off, it's wrong.
Say again?
I said also if you were to type one incorrectly, it's wrong. It's a different parcel.
Exactly. You cannot have you have a voidable contract if you don't have a correct legal description attached to it. Sale of real property requires a legal description. Okay, so it filled in our purchase price. In this case, we're not asking for the seller to contribute closing costs, so I'm going to put 0. Never leave it blank. Never leave it any blank.
Does it make any difference if you put 0 with the word ZERO?
Yes, it's supposed to be numbers.
Okay.
If you got a dollar sign in front, now, there are a couple places where I put NA, but it doesn't make sense for that particular spot. But if it's looking for a number. Closing costs. Just a quick word that, let's just say, and rule of thumb, but you always have to ask the lender. This is another thing, I'm going to modify my sheet. What is allowable per the terms of the particular mortgage that they're taking out? It's very common that with conventional that it would be 3% of the purchase price that they could kick in. However, if you ask the seller for the maximum in help with closing cost, then you have, and because I have done this and was so proud of myself. Look what I did for my buyer. And then we have the inspection, and there are a few things that need to be addressed, and the seller's willing, but they've already moved and were 2 states away, and they wanted to just contribute money to pay for getting it fixed. They couldn't, because we had maxed out our closing costs. The only legal way that a seller can contribute money to the buyer is with closing cost help. So my advice is not to use it all up in the beginning, just in case the seller doesn't want to fix anything. They're willing to assume responsibility for it, but they want to throw money at it. That's your only spot. So.
And you get that number from the lender?
Yes. So back when we were getting the number for the finance contingency and appraisal, and how much can the seller contribute to closing costs, you ask the lender. It's not, you ask the buyer, how much do you want them to pay? Because in every mortgage instrument, that's part of the definition is the rules about that, about how much the seller, because remember, the lender wants you to have some skin in the game, so if the seller is paying for all the closing costs and, you don't look like a very qualified borrower. So I promise you that that field closing cost, that's one that trips people up.
Does the market also decide if that's
Well, let me give you the history in 2 sentences. Back during the recession, when there were gazillion, listings, because people were trying to free up their cash out of their property, buyers started asking for this and that to throw in to sweeten the deal. It was a buyer's market. Asking for closing cost help really got going then. It's not as much of a necessity these days, and sadly, some sellers actually get offended when buyers ask for it. The bottom line is, from the seller's point of view, you take the purchase price minus closing costs. That's what the offer really is. And just get over it. Get over it, seller. We don't know their financial. They're saving some of their cash so they can buy furniture after they buy the house. Got it? Okay, closing date we said was a month out. And here's one of the things I don't like. The way guard forms are and the dot loop view details, we actually put a date in there, but the way the guard forms are, it doesn't provide a field for the date, so you still have to click there. Holder of earnest money, here we are. Closing attorney. Okay, I said with the closing attorney that you want to, they're not looking for the name of the attorney, they're looking for the their firm, and if they have multiple offices, you gotta give some clue about which office. So you don't have to do the whole address, but, as you can see what I did. Now, we never accept cash for earnest money, and the reason is because of the Patriot Act. All lenders have to be able to trace the source of all funds involved in the transaction, and you can't, to make sure that either drug trafficking or terrorists are not involved, money laundering. So you can't trace cash or money orders that are paid for with cash. So it's either going to be a check or a wire transfer. Most often it's a check.
Do people do cashier's check or they do regular check?
Either one. You can do a personal check or you can do a bank check.
Okay.
And that's all good. Where it comes into play is if, heaven forbid, y'all end up terminating and you need to get the client's earnest money back. If it happens real quick, the NCA office is required to sit on it's got to be 10 days after the check clears the bank. So there's, that's another thing to tell your buyers and the buyer consult to prepare them.
That's law?
5 days for, I'll have to double check with Ellie whether it's our policy or...
It's our policy. Only because even with electronic funds the way it is now, I mean, a check, you think it would, clear in 2 or 3 days. There have been instances of checks that took, 2 weeks to clear, just the system, whatever, but, that's why it's 10 days. So if, at the end of 10 days, then, sometimes they can check with the bank, and the bank will say it looks like it cleared, but after 10 days, they're pretty much guaranteed it's cleared.
Okay. And it pre-populated the earnest money amounts that we specified. Best practice choose B, did I put 5? I thought I put 3. Anyway, these are negotiable terms. If you're in a competitive offer situation and, other people are making offers, you want to make, you might put 1, we want to win this, so you make it as favorable to the seller as possible, the terms. Okay, due diligence, I'm going to put 10 days. That's sort of your standard starting point. Again, if it's 7 to 14 is the range.
So would it have pulled that if you had put it in on that form a while ago?
When on the
loop,
details?
on the loop, you didn't put in that number because you said it didn't pull it over.
We'll have to go back and look at that new details. We don't deal in option money in the Rawls Group, so we pre-populated 0 and NA there.
Really?
Yes, it's a Rawls Group policy. And I'm sure you signed, in all that documentation you signed.
I signed my life away.
Lead-based paint. The rule is, was it built prior to 1978 when there was lead-based paint? Look on the listing. When was this house built?
1978.
I'm sorry?
1978.
It's
It's not prior to.
Okay. However, best practice is you go ahead and provide a lead-based paint form, because when the EPA randomly audits your brokerage, if you skipped it and they find that it was, the fines are like $11,000 per instance per occurrence. It's really steep. And So,
Remember, Lynn also pointed out that some of the high-end houses have these old architectural fireplaces in there that they bring in that are full of lead paint.
right.
And it's not
Reclaimed
gonna hurt
wood.
anything if we just have a lead-based paint on every transaction.
Yes. Now, if you're representing the buyer and the listing agent didn't do one because it was built in 2002, we typically, we're not gonna die on our sword for that. If the listing, it's not worth fighting about, you can initiate it on the buyer's side and hopefully they'll comply, but don't let it tank the deal. If the house is truly newer. Okay, so we are, I don't know why it's old fashioned, but we know we're the buyer's agent, but on the buy side, you're considered the selling broker, and we are, representing his client, because we have a buyer brokerage signed, and, same thing, RJ is representing her client as, the client.
But do you know that?
Now, it's pretty rare that it's not. Now, I've had instances where,
But the deal can't blow up because of this.
correct.
Okay.
Now, this is, since we're trying to buy, a QAP listing,
What listing?
KWAP,
Oh.
Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter, we affectionately call QAP.
Not
We,
Although Brad does not like
I
you to
heard
call it.
crap.
Brad, don't say it with
Brad does not,
your
Brad does not like you to call it quack because of the phonetic
Sounds
mix-up.
like-
I just sounds over here like,
What I
it
found,
sounds very
we refer
nice.
to it as KW Atlanta Perimeter.
Or KW Dunwoody.
Yeah, KW Dunwoody is not official though, I mean, it's not recognized by CREC.
Right.
So if any kind of paperwork, it has to say Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter.
Why are we saying our company's crap?
Okay, only when you have a double QAP transaction. Only when we work for the same brokerage. Not that we're both Keller Williams, not that we're both Rawls Group, we're this office. Only, we call that designated agency. And we check number 4, and you put the respective agents' names in those boxes. So, I would say this is not your norm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does happen, but
This is a GREP thing to protect the consumer?
If it's a glass disclosure, you have to disclose it.
Okay.
okay. Material, we're, if any of the parties, buyer, seller, agents, or like family members, or married to each other, or whatever, not like the two sellers are married to each other, you disclose it because they don't want, if somebody has inside knowledge. that-
What if both agents are married? Like, if it's like two agents are married?
Like, what if Bill and
It's
Kathy
not really
talk?
typical that, usually they're in business
They're
together.
a team?
Yeah, so they wouldn't do, I think, they're, from Greg's point of view, they're considered one person. So you wouldn't have, unless they work for different brokerages. They're a team. Yeah.
Saying like Bill and Kathy Hawks, he said he did listers and she did buyers, so is there a possibility that they could end up on both sides of the table?
Right.
And they're married and work for the same?
But they're considered a team within our group. I mean, Bill is billing the cost team or whatever.
It's
It's
an
actually
entity.
an
No,
entity.
the answer is no.
Okay.
Then they would be getting double money.
Yeah, in that case, that would be,
Be a dual
Like dual
agent.
agency.
yeah, dual agency, because when it says, dual agency or sub-agency, that would, one would be considered a sub-agency of the other.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was the first thing that,
Yeah, exactly, well, it's a good question.
That was a good question.
Okay, so if there's none, fill in none, leave nothing blank. I told you it filled in our expiration date, and I'm gonna just put 5 o'clock, P, because it gives the M, and then I'm gonna zing down to here, and we've already I'm gonna, remember RJ put letters on hers, so I'm not gonna quibble about which is really which. E up here. But normally if I were picking, then I make myself a little note, A through E, and what each one is. I said on number 8, did I? Back up on 7, when I was saying what would go in the special steps. Let's say you want to ask for a home warranty. This is where you would do it. Now, we want you to use the official GAR stipulations, and after I finish with this, I'll show you where those are, because that's lawyer-approved language.
And if you're writing it, if you're in here in the workroom and writing it, there's a red notebook on the work table that says special steps, and that has a printout of all the GAR steps.
They are on overload. Okay. So we have Betty, and this is all filled in, and then I use my email address. Look how much is filled in. Again, Luke can't say who we're with. Now we have a few. Be the agent that fills everything in for the other side. There are a few that don't do it. That is called lazy. If you're initiating this document, you fill everything in that you can. You can't do the client. Okay, so what's your broker phone number? Well, remember this document? So here we go. This that we hyperlinked. Okay, we're not going to mess with the facts. Where do you find these? Why, back on here. The office ID for the MLS is this. And then the firm number or license. Again, sorry, the nomenclature is not consistent.
Nomenclature.
Whee! Okay. I would always go back through all of my, let's see, let's go click. I always go back through, that front page, make sure things are copacetic, but
if you were just to hit save, then you could come back and double, triple check before you share. Share means send.
Sure. That is true. So, first thing, assuming it's right, first thing I do is have my buyer sign it, then I'll sign it, then I'll send it to the listing agent. Yes, ma'am?
Quick question. So when I sent one of the other forms to myself as Betty, I had assigned the first buyer signature to Betty. But because Betty is assigned as the buyer and there are 2 spaces for it,
Thank you for bringing that up.
Can you say no one?
Yes.
Okay.
That is exactly, when I have a single client, or, maybe it's a couple but only one is on the contract, I will click on the second space, go up here to assigned and say no one. Then it will not bother Betty. How do you delete it?
Over here, there's people don't notice these very often. that if you just wanted to get rid of it entirely, you just hit Shift Delete while your cursor is on that block.
Do I have to click?
Shift Delete. No more signatures.
Ooh, fancy.
Okay, so
I mean, it keeps telling you over there, you know, yeah, so you don't have to, you remember it, it's always up there.
Okay. So, okay, this is a quickie. Quick one to fill out. Okay, we said we're gonna make it A. That's filled out, so we got the pre-approval letter from the lender, so we know that they're just getting one mortgage, and it will give you the terms. So they're gonna put down 20%, so that means the loan is 80%. It's a 30, again, you get this from the pre-approval letter. And this is the most common, that it's fixed institutional. Now, okay. Best practice is that you list more than one approved mortgage lender. That means approved by your client, that your client's still on the fence. They don't, you know, you've given them 3, but then they've got somebody else. The reason you want to enumerate them is if, heaven forbid, you're going along and the finance contingency, you're getting close to the end, and the lender, the first lender they go with, decides they can't lend them the money. They found out about some skeleton in the closet, whatever. And so they say, sorry, we can't loan you the money. If you've listed them on here, there are real strict rules to follow, but the buyer can terminate and get their earnest money back, even if it's like 20 days into the contract. So, we're getting into the weeds here.
Who's this benefiting?
Your client. You're here to protect. If you come next Tuesday after team meeting for the Lynn and Renee show, they're going to get into these details. Because they're not even going to talk about purchase and sale. They're going to talk about all the exhibits and amendments and get into the finer points. Okay? So I'm just going to give you like a vanilla. I'm making up her number, I don't know what it is.
And you can put more than one lender if they're not sure who they're going to go with.
Right.
As a matter of fact, if they're not sure, go ahead and put 2, because that will keep you from having to do an amendment later on.
I guess I'm going into the weeds, but why don't you say any approved lender?
It's a little vague because
you're selling your buyer to the seller.
Okay, well, that's why I was asking, who is this? So what we're trying to do is show the seller that these guys have got the dough.
And they're pre-qualified. I mean, they're not going to be pre-qualified with anyone.
So we're not using this as an out clause.
There's some of that too. That's getting in out. You want to read number B and 5 and 6 very carefully. That gives you rules by which you can get out because of some kind of financing hiccup.
Okay.
For example, they may have a pre-qual from Wells Fargo, but they go through Wells Fargo and surprise, surprise, something pops up that they're not able to get a loan. Either
they've got a student loan that they didn't disclose or something,
or their wife's their wife is on it and wife didn't tell husband about, you know, her $8,000 in credit cards or whatever. But if for some reason they can't get a mortgage from Wells Fargo, then they have a way to walk. They can say, Wells Fargo will not give me a loan, therefore I am letting you know within the prescribed time that I can't do this.
Which also means they don't lose their earnest money.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, there are many ways to terminate. There are fewer ways to get your earnest money back.
Right.
So,
especially with these documents.
okay, so you asked earlier about kind of a standard number for finance and appraisal. 21, if you're closing in 30 days, typically 21, but I've called my lender and I've asked them, because what if they say, we can do it 14? Won't that look more appealing to the seller? So you want to put the best number you can, the lowest number, so that because the seller, for 21 days, the seller's thinking, oh, they can back out, oh, they can back out. Or
it's basically an option without being an option.
The kind of option, yes. So the shorter the finance contingency, the seller likes the chances of getting to the closing table better.
Now keep in mind though, you can't game this and say, hey, you know something, you want out of this deal, you want to get your earnest money back, just don't give the lender, you know, what they've asked for, because that's a no-go. The lender has to be able to write a letter saying, we have evaluated everything and we are unable to make the loan. Not if it says, we couldn't give a loan because the buyer wouldn't give us the documents, yeah, you're not going to get your money back.
Right. Here, this paragraph within number 6 gives the reasons that they, you know, it spells it all out, but failure to perform on the buyer side does not get you out of jail. Can't get your earnest money back. So if the buyer has submitted all documents, done everything, but it's a no-go, you can get your earnest money back. And also in here, I can't remember exactly where just because, oops, they spent all their money and they don't have the cash to close, that's on them. You know, they can terminate, but they're not going to get their earnest money back. There's a lot of details that you really have to be aware of. So we're going to read the purchase and sale, then we're going to read the finance contingencies. Okay, I just put 21, but I asked my buyer's lender. And lender required repairs. Certainty doesn't seem to have this very much, but I guess there are some, and this is not small stuff. This would be big stuff, like
foundation,
HVAC, roof,
big stuff. So you have to say paid for by, and it's either going to be seller or buyer. And again, if you would think, you just put seller. Well, if you're in a competitive offer situation, you might not, because you want, it all depends. But anyway, in that blank, you're going to put buyer or seller, so I'll just put seller. And not to exceed, this is all where you're getting into the strategy and finesse.
But earlier, when we were talking about, on the very first page about contributing towards closing costs, and not using all your dough there, here's another place to do exactly the same thing.
It is, yes, and this is,
but it seems to me like the person that's selling the house, if they just say, look, I want to cut a check, they could either do it here, or they could do it on the closing costs, right?
No. In this instance, they wouldn't write a check to the buyer. They would pay whoever's going to make the repair.
Okay.
Directly. So that doesn't infringe upon the closing costs.
Okay. And from a tax perspective, closing costs are deductible.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay.
I'm not a tax expert.
Okay.
Okay.
Depends if it's being used to buy down the points or whatever.
Okay.
So Betty's gonna sign. I'm gonna go up here and say no one, so she doesn't even have a chance. I mean, that's one way. You can do the other way as well.
How would you go about deleting that field if you didn't want it?
Just put your cursor on it. Just do,
Oh,
that, over there on the, see on the far right side where it says shift delete. Sure, okay.
There's only one seller. Is it going to require them the same? Is it going to be an issue for them?
if they're doing it in dot loop.
Right.
You know, so those are all lots
Yeah.
to think about.
So if everybody doesn't use dot loop, then that means that every other brokerage house has their own electronic signature.
DocuSign, RDocs,
Okay.
right. So you'll get back a version, and it'll have signed by DocuSign, you know.
Or they may even actually hand sign it. That happens occasionally.
I deleted this one by accident, where I would have put ARA. Okay, so I'm just gonna save this. Nicely, one last thing I'm gonna show you. In the, when the seller or the listing agent gives you some docs, okay, so they provided the lead-based paint, and it's already a PDF, so I can't, click into it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nor can
here's-
you change the exhibit letters.
Well, if you really want to, you can. You can go add text, drop it on there, shorten it up.
Okay.
Ha! Take that.
Well, click it, make sure that it steps on top of it.
Click it now.
Yeah, just click it somewhere else.
It's there.
Okay, good.
Now, I need to add an initial box. Add initials. And I drop it, and it looks like it's bigger than, assign it to Betty Boop. And I'm going to add a signature. So this is what you do when you get forms from the other side, and it's a PDF. Click Betty. And let's see, we don't have any signature for me. And then I can share. So this is when the listing agent provides docs, in the seller's disclosure, to the end.
Do you want to have a signature for each page that they read it? You just an initial, you know how in the old days you used to initial
Yes,
every page?
attorneys, there's certain docs that they will get you to do. Nobody does that.
They do a lot of that at closing, with
Okay.
the security deeds and everything, but on these.
Okay, I'm adding a signature, assigning it to Betty. I'm also adding a text box because I have to, type her name in. I don't have to mess with the date because it'll be date stamped. And you'll notice on the seller's disclosure, the agent's stamp sign. So I send that off to Betty. So, in general, that's the nuts and bolts of how you do it. We talked about how you get ready for it. Once it's signed by your client and you can, let's say I want to send all of the docs.
Oh, that's
here.
what I was asking earlier. So you can bundle them all together and not send 14 different emails.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before when I clicked all these, I sent them as one. I mean, yeah, if if I'd had those in there, I could have done the same with the buyer.
Okay.
So let's say I'm gonna share, and now I'm gonna send them to RJ, but I'm not. Not to freak her out. Now, notice,
You'd be happy.
it can edit in private. Sometimes there's a field where your co-op agent needs to fill something in, and if you just say can sign, then they can't do it. So, anyway, these are some subtleties here. So I'm not sharing with RJ, not to freak her out. So I'm sending, but even before I share, texting RJ, sending over an offer for 6790 Lisa Lane through .loop. Please confirm receipt.
So,
Please hold on. Can do, I mean, that's kind of like your starter, but if, let's say, they're not .loopers, and they ask for it via PDF, well, then you're gonna send an email, and you want them to accept this, right? So be nice, and RJ, like Brad always says, say their first name, RJ. My client is so excited about Lisa Lane. Attached is our offer. We look forward to hearing from you and your seller, soon. Please confirm receipt. And you're not going to bed that night. You hear from that agent that they got the offer, okay? Because we're talking cyberspace, so. In the old days, we presented offers in person. No one does that anymore. We send it electronically, whether it's an email or .loop.
Y'all might not notice this, but on the FMLS, if you're putting in a listing, there's actually a box that asks you, can present directly to seller.
Yeah.
You always say no. No. You want to keep the sides apart, because they could get in a fight.
My question, and maybe I'm just coming from a whole different universe, but why would you use text messaging as opposed to email?
Because
RJ,
agents
why would you send an email?
Okay, just wait till you get active in the business.
Okay.
Busy agents don't check their email.
But your email and your text come on the same device at the same
I
time.
know, but they may have turned off notifications.
Email's there, yeah, I don't have a notification.
You don't know, you don't know if you're dealing, guys, I'm not being ageist here or anything, but you don't know if you're dealing with a millennial agent or if you're dealing with a baby boomer.
Totally agent.
What is that agent? He made that.
I'm running out of time.
I mean, we just used to. In
I know, it's old.
Really?
Today, it's text. You just wait.
So what
People won't respond.
when they sue somebody over commission, you have no discovery trail?
Text, hold up, report. Timestamp.
Yep.
This is true. When today's man comes and you're doing it, you have a record of your transaction.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go there, but I mean, this is pretty cool stuff. And like a month from now, we're not using it anymore, right?
It won't be that.
No.
Even though we'll have command, the transaction is not going to be ready at family reunion because they have to figure out how to incorporate each state's GAR forms, whatever they're called, into command, and that ain't ready for prime time yet. So it'll be more than a month, but it will come. It will come.
Well, maybe I missed it. So eventually, we're not going to be in .loop, we'll be in command totally?
Eventually.
Okay.
I cannot tell you when.
No, I just didn't know that.
If you hold your breath, you can turn, please.
Yeah. No, the vision for command.
Until we are told to do so, everything will be
when you do this in command, there will be a huge rollout. believe me.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be quite obvious that we are.
And it'll be wonderful, yes, because the plan is that you just go one place, and you could use everything.
I thought about that, because I was like, I'm sure we're gonna start seeing fines when commands out.
Yeah. And the first thing that will roll out is to put your database in. There's so many things that it can do and will be able to do. Now, what we have not covered in our 1 minute left. So we have been a buyer's agent, okay? We've done. Also in a competitive, it's kind of nice, depending on the parties involved, if appropriate, to have your client write a little email or letter saying why they love the house so much. It tugs on the heartstrings of the sellers. It helps. Trust me, it helps. Photo of you and your baby or you and your dog. Sounds schmaltzy, but I'm telling you, it goes a long way if it's you versus somebody else.
That's how we got our house.
Telling you. Hello. And I had a listing, and the people that did the letter won the motion. Okay.
Especially when you include a picture, because then they put a face with the letter.
There's two schools of thought on that. Is one, putting a picture in there could open you up to
discrimination too.
Fair housing.
Yeah.
It's so be careful.
Be careful about that.
Just be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we haven't covered is put in another hat. This will be very brief. You're the listing agent, and you just got a text from somebody that an offer's coming. I typically will text my client. They're sending an offer, because you're throughout these processes, working with buyers, working with sellers, we're trying to turn them into raving fans, so they will use you again and promote you to others. So sometimes it's those little things that turn them into raving fans. So we put them on notice, but then you always review the contract first, and you're looking for the salient points, price, closing costs, net, figure out the net, all the dates. Have your ducks in a row before you call your client, because they're going to be,
Special steps.
Meaning already review the contract before you tell them they're going to be sending one over?
No. You could say an offer is coming. Period. The end. But then you're going to want to call them and
Right.
go over the details. You review it first, because you got to look for any gotchas. And this is where you prove your value to them. Special steps. They want the washer and dryer, and the seller was planning. You can smooth just about anything over, but you got to know that it's there first. Something that your seller's not going to really like, or not what they originally intended. They want the dining room chandelier. Oh, that was my grandmother's for taking it. You
told you take it down.
You can figure out how to solve any kind of hiccup, but you got to know that it's there, and you think and anticipate. So now you're kind of negotiating with your own client about whether to accept this or not. What are the three responses to an offer? Obviously, they can accept it.
They can decline it.
They can reject it.
Think about it.
Or they can
Counter.
Oh, you're talking about real life.
Yeah, counter. So, another time we'll talk about a counter offer. We have a saying, never let the deal die on your side. Remember, we don't get paid unless we get to the closing table. So, it's to everyone's best interest if you keep the parties still negotiating. So, We got RJ's list price and somebody offers 500. Worst case, you can just counter at the list price, but at least you're saying, okay, I'm not completely blowing you off.
But when you counted the list, all those special steps were all typed in. Did I hear correctly that you got to retype all that?
No, on the counter, you only counter those specific terms that you want to change.
Do you put NA in all the rest of them?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So they may, you may have a list price of 600, they're offering 500. So you come back and you go, $590.
And it's
But
only,
you don't, but okay, but they said.
But everything else is
goes
cool.
in it,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
and it only clears the signatures that you generated, the ones that you were, like for instance, if it's a PDF that you imported, and let's say the selling agent had gathered signatures from their customers and you uploaded it, you're gonna be on the, if you make any changes to that, it won't clear their signature.
At that point, what you've done is, you've actually created a document that supersedes what you had up.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Right.
your binding contract, the one that everybody's gonna be going off of, is a binding.
Mhm.
It's very obvious that it's binding. Up until then, it's just a document for negotiation.
Right. I mean, as you can see, there is so much. There's so many details, there are nuances, there are what ifs. It's okay. You got the big stuff, and when you have deals, we will talk about it in detail. Diane and I are here to help you. Our policy is, now that you have been through this class, you got, my client wants to make an offer. You start it, you do using my sheet, you do as much as you can, and then after you've done as much as you can, call us. But we're not going, having gone through this, I'm not going to sit with you and tell you how to create a loop. Okay?
When we call you, will you be able to see what we've already done?
Yes, we have access to everybody's loop. So we can,
Okay.
yeah, you don't have to come in. Now, the other thing is, if you're taking a client out this weekend and you think that they may want to, you might find a house. Yay. You can create the loop and pull the documents in and do all that stuff before you go housing.
Can you do a generic one and just fill it in when you're ready? Or do you not recommend that one?
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. You could pull in the purchase and sale. Hopefully you already know, because you got a buyer broker buyer consult, how they're going to finance, whether it's conventional, FHA, VA. So you can preload your loop with the blank docs that you're going to need. You may have to change it a little,
But it works.
but and
Really, the only ones you're really gonna need are your purchase and sale and your financing, because you're gonna get the seller's disclosure from the seller. You're gonna get the community association from the seller. Hopefully, you might get the legal from the seller. If not, then you'll have to get that some other way.
I've cut, yep. I'm telling you.
Thank you, gorgeous. Well, both, I don't know how to say it, by gorgeous.
There's more, obviously, there's more to learn, and you can think of tons of what ifs, but, it's hard to cover this all in one class.
We heard, we met people in the hallway,
What?
other agents in the hall. Something like that, we just didn't start.
Just getting started. Okay, I will email you purchase and sale. Who needs me to email them, the purchase and sale? Can you,
Or do you want us to just print it?
well, that's, y'all are adults and y'all can do it yourself, but I can email it to you.
You email it to me, I'll print it out.
Okay,
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
okay. I know you got more questions than you got answers, but thank you.
Now you can
Thank
explain
you.
this to me.
Okay?
All right, so we started with this, we can go that way. All right. Is this mortgage information for the current owners?
And the way, like, okay, the current owners bought it in '92.
Bye, friends.
So this is for the prior.
Sorry, I didn't say that I.
My market came, so.
Oh, look at
So,
that.
yeah, I know,
Okay.
but for some reason, they seem to always have 4, if they can come up with 4. I don't know, that's what they're
Ever
for.
more than
On your house.
No.
I don't think so. I don't believe I've ever seen more than this much real estate given to mortgage
So, it wasn't a
history.
buyer.
So we'll throw that one out. So Betty and Sam bought this house.
You don't know what book.
92.
92, and they got a mortgage, we don't know if it's a first mortgage or what, correct? It's just a conventional.
No, you can assume it's the first mortgage.
So, they bought it.
I don't know what I did wrong.
Because this is a HELOC, if it's a,
Why we got the 78,
We're not only sending out messages.
that was the original, or that was a prior sale of the house. This is sales history, not just Sam and Betty's sales history. This is for the property.
So the most recent owner bought it before '92. More than likely, they got all these However, 9 years later,
Oh, okay.
how do you know that's, oh, it's because
I work.
Well, the good news.
So they refi, so they
They
took cash out.
paid to have an appraisal.
They took cash
And then
out.
we narrowed it to 3.
Okay, so you know 3, then in 14, they refied again, took cash out again.
Ain't done yet.
And that's an easy one.
Oh, I know, some of them I was looking at, I'm like,
Oh, exactly. And then, if it's ever been a foreclosure, gone into foreclosure, it may have multiple steps. You know, I think maybe
A lender.
there might be more than just that line, now that I think about it, but,
Home equity.
yeah, you can make your head spin
At like
following that.
1.99.
okay.
The most relevant is the newest,
So the nice thing is,
because,
since you have 100% equity in your house.
I think in
Well, some
Loan equity is like.
Cause you asked the question now,
So,
I did the prepayment.
We know this is a refi, but what happens if they went out and did a HELOC for $30,000? That's when you have also, right? So you can we assume,
I'd have to look.
let's say if we give them a simple, this one is.
Yeah, look at the address.
She was looking into it. And I found this one.
There were some of them, I was looking at this
Yeah, so
weekend.
when you, like, said refi, this replaces this. But if one is refi and then one is HELOC, so that type is real key.
Right.
That area.
Yeah.
This is big.
I'm sure there'll be some more. I was just trying to,
Because what I'm
I was just trying to understand who are these people that own this house and what's going on.
Yeah, and why do we have these people's mortgage and that, and,
Well, and this is not a good,
I did,
Who's doing that?
I gotta read mine to figure out.
Okay.
correct, because it's not up to the big.
Right.
So it's-
Plus, we don't know the interest rate, or the figure it out.
Now,
Huh?
we're always
I think I got your contact.
less
Yeah, you can just.
what they owe on the house.
Was that? Yeah, I did. I think I also did.
Buyers don't wanna give them too much profit.
Right. Market is the
That's
market.
irrelevant.
Correct. But you have to explain
I lived in
that.
a flip house in Pittsburgh, my house was so
Diplomatically.
cute.
Correct. I'm with you.
Across the street.
Well, that was something that I have finally come to terms with, is the market determines